Let's look at the Mishnah. Ben Azai Omer. Heverotz mitzvah kala. It's this week, the Pirkei Avos. It's going to be Perek 4, and it's right on top of the page. Es abrias shenema kemachabde achaba de boz di yakol. It's the previous Mishnah. The second Mishnah of the 4th chapter, which is the Pirkei Avos this week. Someone complained we should learn a little Pirkei Avos, so we are. Ben Azai Omer. Heverotz mitzvah kala. Run to do a simple mitzvah. Run away from the sin. Because every mitzvah drags with it another mitzvah, and every sin drags with it another sin. Simple reading is that you should run to do a mitzvah and run away from Aveda, because you think it's one small mitzvah, but one mitzvah is a string of mitzvahs. Once you get involved with one mitzvah, it's catchy. You'll do another and another mitzvah. Once you do an Aveda, it pulls you down, and one will bring you to the next. Another point, he says, there's schar mitzvah. The reward of one mitzvah is another mitzvah. Schar aveda. The reward of one aveda is another aveda. Okay. So simple. That's a simple pshat.
Guarantee.
Yeah, guarantee.
What if we do teshuvah in between?
What if he does a mitzvah and then he decides to be a Rosh in between?
That
could always happen.
Does teshuvah and that stops the...
Okay. He's talking naturally. If you don't stop it. That's the way it works naturally. Obviously, you could make things different.
If you're aware, you make a
difference. Yeah. So, obviously, Ben Azai is not telling us that we should be careful to do a mitzvah. Ben Azai didn't come and pick you up and say, "Listen, hear ye, it's a good idea to do mitzvahs." We don't need Ben Azai in the ethics of our fathers to tell us something special, extraordinary, ethical to do mitzvahs. That's an obligation. We have to do mitzvahs. So Ben Azai is trying to say something extra. Midas chasidus. Something extra. You want to be a chassid, because it miltza the chasidus, extra. What's the extra thing? So the pashas, the extra thing is saying, don't only do the mitzvah, run to do the mitzvah. That's the extra thing. You could do the mitzvah, you can run to do the mitzvah, like the story of Avram Avinu. He woke up early in the morning, he did it quickly. So you should also run to do the mitzvah. So let's continue reading. The truth is, it's a Gemara.
Maybe the word kala. You could sing maybe for a big mitzvah instead of kala. No. So you're teaching us.
What's talking the pshat mitzvah kala? You should, in the previous Mishnah, we say the kala ke b'chamura. That kala is the same like a chamura. Here it says l'rotz la mitzvah kala. What's the pshat l'rotz la mitzvah kala? Only mitzvah kala you should run for? What's the pshat mitzvah kala? Obviously, it means you should run for every mitzvah. So what's the emphasis of mitzvah kala? Look in the Gemara afterwards. Gemara brachas davava mit beis. Amar Reb Chel Amar Reb Huna yoytze beis hakneses. I'll give some gas. When you go out of the shul, you shouldn't run out. Like, you know, when the bell rings and the kids have recess, the kids go flying out from the windows and the doors. The class is empty in a second. So when you go out of the Beis HaKnesses, it shouldn't be that way. That's on the way out. But on the way in to the Beis HaKnesses, it's a mitzvah to run. We should run to know Hashem. Rabbi Zayda said, Rabbi Zayda said in the beginning, I would saw that the sages, that their students are running to Shabbos to learn. That's a Machal Shabbos. They're running a Shabbos. A Shabbos you're supposed to rest. But then I heard of Reb Tanchem. What did Reb Tanchem say? A person should always run. Even at Shabbos, he should run to learning. They're running after the Eibishter like a lion. I also used to, from now, I also run. The reward, the main reward for coming a Beis Menachem Mendel Sunday night, learning a sicha on the Pasha is not the learning, is the running. The running is the main reward. Okay. The Alter Rebbe brings this in Shulchan Aruch. It's also brought in the Shulchan Aruch of the Beis Yosef, Mechaber. In the Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch, it's Siman Tzadik, Sif Yud Gimel. And that's the third piece here on the page. Mitzvah Lorutz. It's a mitzvah to run to shul. V'chein l'chol dvar mitzvah shenama nirdef aladas Hashem. That's the first pasuk the Gemara brings. Nirdef aladas Hashem. We will run near the Faladas Hashem.
And if you're late enough.
Exactly. If you come to Beis Menachem Mendel. Kol mokem ein lo yiroretz. La Pesach Beis Knesset. You run till the shul. The Beis Knesset Atzma, in the shul, you shouldn't be running. Yelech be'ema, be'yidah, v'afilu b'Shabbos. Sh'osel l'fshei b'shei gas, v'achim b'gam, b'chol n'teles echem metuv kof, v'moidenov. Even in the weekday, running is not a good idea. It takes away one of 500 of the eyesight. After it became yoretz l'chol dvar mitzvah, nevertheless.
Shabbos candles, no?
Yeah, you get it back. Shabbos candles. You should run for every mitzvah. Avok sheyotzim Beis Knesset oretz, or loser loretz. Lo say gives a shamar batz mashika Beis Knesset dem lof mamasi. If you're running out of a shul, that means that you don't like it there. It's boring. So,
You're eager to get out quick.
Like it.
exactly. Medvar mamurim k'shayilach la'asok. Yotzim nas la'atz l'mitzvah. But if he's running out to do a mitzvah, mitzvah lorutz kedei la'azar l'mayim v'chein yotzim Beis Knesset l'Beis HaMedrash. But if you go back to the first line, the Alter Rebbe says, mitzvah loras l'beis knesses, v'chein l'chol dvar mitzvah. Every mitzvah you do, you should run. Okay. Before we summarize, let's read one more Mishnah. This is the Mishnah of the Perek 5. Yehuda ben Tema Omer. Yehuda ben Tema says, have az kanema tenacious like a leopard. Kal kanesh, it should be as easy as an eagle. That flies easy. Rotzkatzvi should run like a deer. V'giba kadish is strong like a lion. Lasses retzoin avicha v'shamayim, to do the will of the Father in heaven. So, the two questions here. Number one, if it's a halacha in Shulchan Aruch, this Mishnah Yehuda ben Tema, the Tur brings as his opening statement of the whole Shulchan Aruch. The Alter Rebbe also brings the opening statement of the whole Shulchan Aruch. So, if this is a halacha, so why is Ben Azai telling us this as a special? It's as something special. It's halacha. That's what you have to do. And the bottom line is, another question is, what's the difference between these three things? What's the difference between the Talmud, when the Talmud says you have to run? And it's interesting, because the Talmud says you have to run when you go to shul. And then the Alter says, V'chein l'chol dvar mitzvah. It also applies to every mitzvah. But why do we single out when you're going to shul? We single out, you go to shul, and also to every mitzvah. That's number one. And then we have, number two, Yehuda ben Tema, who is brought in Pirkei Avos, but also brought in Shulchan Aruch, which is that you should, when you're doing the will of your Father in heaven, you should run. And then there's the third, Ben Azai, it says, run for an easy mitzvah. So, again, the first question is, what's the difference between these three things? All three seem to be saying exactly the same thing. Run to do the mitzvahs. But specifically, in the Gemara, it says it's a halacha, it's not brought as a special extra thing, and it's brought for the running to shul, and also for every mitzvah. Yehuda ben Tema, to do the will of your Father in heaven, and Ben Azai mitzvah kala. So what's the difference? It's special when we come to Lag BaOmer, and there's a special connection to all this. Why does a person do something quickly?
You love it.
You love it. If you love it, you do something, a chore that you hate doing, you procrastinate. Why do today if you could do tomorrow? Right? Exactly. Why do today? You can do tomorrow to pay a bill. Pay tomorrow. When you get a shut-off notice, so then you want to find out, so when are they shutting it off? Okay, so right before they shut it off, you pay the bill. But you're not rushing to pay your bills. What's the rush? But when there's something you love to do, something that you're excited about, you're enthused, so you run to do it. That's the type of a person. So if you love something, you do it. You get to it. You can't. And if you really love something, you're running towards it. So what happens? The story of David the Melech, when the queen saw that he was mefazez u'makarker lifnei Hashem, that he was jumping and dancing, and he was going crazy, and she said, "This is not aristocratic. My father was a king. This is what you look like. You look like shval anoshim, like a simpleton." So he said, I'm very small in my eyes. What does that mean? I'm small. So the Rambam explains that a person who's big in their own eyes, they can never experience simcha shel mitzvah. That's what the Rambam says at the end of the sukkah. The make is daite v'chove kol v'la'atzma miskabel bein afam. Very important in my own eyes. I don't have that devotion to God. So how can I, you see how chosed dances, forget about yourself, you can dance. How can you dance? You're thinking about this and thinking and thinking. You're not dancing, you're thinking. You're just moving your hands and your legs maybe, and hardly that, because you're thinking, so you're moving your hands slowly. Instead of dancing, you're really thinking. When a person is not thinking about themselves, they lose consciousness of themselves. That's when they can dance well. That's it. They're not. So the Rambam says, when a person is thinking about themselves, it's hard to have simcha shel mitzvah. A person has devotion to Hashem, they're not thinking about themselves. They can have simcha shel mitzvah. That's what David HaMelech said to Michal. He said, "In the I'm small in my own eyes. Because I'm small, I can experience true simcha." Okay. So the question is like this. I don't know how to dance. How do I get to dance? How do I learn to dance? So the answer is very simple. You fake it until you make it. That's the way you do it. And the Chinuch writes it. The Chinuch is one of the Rishonim. He writes a compilation, a book of all the mitzvahs. He said Shabbos, his son was busy playing with his friends, and he was bored. So he said he'll write a book for his son. So his son will have something to do Shabbos. A digest of all the mitzvahs that come out of that parsha. Okay? So in the mitzvah Tezayin, right in the beginning of the Chinuch, Shaloi Lishbar Etzem, you're not allowed to break a bone in the Korban Pesach. What's so important about this mitzvah? And if you break a bone, because you have to, you can't get a butcher. You can't because you go. You can't have good borscht Pesach night with some marrow. Good borscht is with some marrow bones or a good sholent. You can't because you can't break the bones. You can't suck the marrow. So, but what's so important about it? Yeah, but break the bones and not break the bones. So the Chinuch says that God wants us to act as aristocratic, rich people, free people, kings. Kings don't suck the bone. They eat a different style. It's good stuff, exactly. Where no one looks. But otherwise, it's not aristocratic. So in the Korban Pesach is where Ashirim. Then the Chinuch goes in to a beautiful shmuz about life. He says sometimes there's bad people and they easily become good. And then there's good people that easily become bad. What's the secret? And here is a phrase that was coined by the Chinuch. Ki acharei ha'pa'ulos nimshachim ha'levavos. Acharei ha'pa'ulos nimshachim ha'levavos. The heart follows the action. Contrary to common thought, it's counterintuitive. But that's the way it is, he says. It's not that I am because I think. No, it's the other way around. The person is drawn after their actions. If you keep on doing something, you do it and you do it and you do it and you do it and you do it, your heart gets drawn into it eventually. B'koyach ma'asav yomis hayetzer hara. So much action will crush the Yetzer hara. He says, however, afil tzaddik yosher im yasak b'doifi, a very good man, he's wasting his life. He's withering it away. He's not exercising in mitzvahs. So this person can turn sour quickly. So simply, you fake it until you make it. And you keep on doing it again and again, and eventually you make it. So, no simcha, doesn't matter. Come like Ba'omed, you start dancing. You dance, until you forget about yourself, and you get into the dancing. There's a story told by Zalman Ruderman. It's a terrific writer.
Who?
Zalman Ruderman, a Lubavitcher guy. He writes in a lot of the Israeli. He says that this is a story he heard from a son of this gentleman, Gedalia. He was a Yid, a Hungarian Yid, now a Romanian, Czechoslovakian, whatever, Marmarosh. So Nebuch lived through the camps. And after the war, he got up. He made his way to Eretz Yisrael. So he joined the Etzel underground. what are they? The Sabra didn't really respect that much the common survivor of the Holocaust. They said that these were sheep that went to the slaughter. These were they were not treated nicely. They were looked down at. The Sabra is going to be the answer to the Jewish problem, but that was the attitude. But quickly the Etzel realized that this guy was dynamite. Not figuratively, but literally. This guy was working in a dynamite factory for 6 years under the Nazis, Yamashron. This guy knows how to build bombs. All of a sudden, he became a shining star. So, middle of Yerushalayim, there was what seemed to be an office supply store, but really was a factory of bombs in the basement. He would come up, work a little in the store here and there, to make believe he's, why is he coming there every day? But then he would slip into the basement, and he was busy all day building bombs. The Etzel was busy all the time, and it wasn't only against the British, it was against the Arabs, against the Jordanian legion that were lethal. So there was a time that there was 87 doctors and nurses on the way to Hadassah Hospital that were killed by the Arab Legion. And Etzel said, we have to take revenge, otherwise they're going to continue doing this. And they said they're going to explode. There was this, they were on a roof of Augusta, Victoria. This was like a Christian mission. Is that we have to explode this place. We have to do something. So this guy was sent on a mission, and it was a bloody battle. It didn't go as good as planned, and this guy got a few shots in his legs. He was rushed to the hospital, Hadassah Hospital, and the bone was broken, was crushed, and the doctors tried to implant a different bone, and apparently it was not successful, and his blood was becoming contaminated, and they thought that his life was in danger, and they said they have to amputate his leg. Survivor, no prospects, no money, no family, entire family wiped out, and now he's a single guy. He was hoping to get married and have a family. What are his chances to meet a girl that wants to marry him with an amputated leg? What kind of future would he have? So there were two Yiddelach that used to come from 2 Yerushalmi Yiddelach that used to come to the Hadassah Hospital to visit people, and they saw this gentleman, this young man is crying, and they heard the story. So they said, you know what? That there is Lag BaOmer. We go to Miron, and in a couple of days Lag BaOmer. And in Miron they said there is Yeshuas all the time. We see miraculous stuff happening in Miron. You want to come with us to Miron? How is he going to go to Miron? They said, don't worry, we'll get you. They came at night, they covered him as if he's dead. They took him out of the hospital. It's not fancy like today. That's a hospital. It's almost covered. They took him out. They thought it was a Chevra Kedisha from Meir Shonim. They came. They took him out. They put him. They put him in a van and they drove. They got to Miron, and it was night. It was the night of Lag BaOmer, and they brought him in. They brought him into the inside where the tzim was. And inside people are davening and crying. The outside people are dancing. This guy's in bed in his stretcher, and he's saying Tehillim. And all of a sudden, an old man walks over to me and says, "You see, they're doing a Achnosa Sefer Torah. You're sitting here in bed for Sefer Torah. You should stand up." So Gedalia says, "But I can't." I said, "Don't worry, I'll help you out." So the old man helps him. And he stands up, and it's difficult for him, but he gets up and he dances a little bit, and he's with the Torah, and then he goes back. He lays down, and he's there the entire Lag BaOmer. After Lag BaOmer, they bring him back to the hospital, and the doctors had already. There was time had scheduled him for the amputation. Before the amputation, Gedalia says, "I really want to tell you something. I've disappeared for a day, as you noticed. I was in Miron, and." I really did stand on my feet. So the doctor said, "Oh, well, let's check." They took off the bandages and they saw it was actually the bone that they have implanted actually took root, and it healed, and eventually it healed completely. Got married, he had children, and his son told the story. To Zalman Iderman, who wrote it in one of the Israeli. So there is a special mitzvah which is dancing with the feet, and the Lag BaOmer comes. That's the thing, the dance. So a person comes to Lag BaOmer, he's not in the mood of dancing. He has tzoros on his head. He has pain in his feet, pain in his head, pain in his legs, pain in the hip. Not to say. But then the trick is to fake it until you make it. So the chinuch says that if you just keep on doing it, so that's what happens over here. There is the ideal. There is Ben Azai. Ben Azai is the highest level. Ben Azai is the highest level. Ben Azai is a mitzvah kala, even an easy mitzvah. He sees the excitement. You know Ben Azai, who Ben Azai was? Ben Azai couldn't stand, he couldn't even get married. He said, his excitement was so big for learning Torah. He was Rotzoy, as Chassidus says, without a shuv. He was always running up. He could never get himself grounded. Literally. He couldn't get married. He couldn't. It was just too much. So he was Rotzoy. He was always, he saw the beauty in every mitzvah. He was jumping. He was running. He ended up in the pardas, he didn't make it out. He was always going up. Because he could see the sweetness in every mitzvah. In the mitzvah kala, he saw this within the mitzvah. He saw the beauty of every mitzvah, and it was like Nodav Avihu in last week's parsha, when they came close to God, and it was so sweet that they didn't want to come back. They just wanted to go up. That was Ben Azai. Ben Azai is talking about a person that is incredible. The run is tremendous, and that's Midas Chasidus. You can't expect it from every single Jew. There's a lower level. Yehuda ben Tema. Yehuda ben Tema says, "Lasas ritzon avicha shebashamayim," in order to do the will of your Father in heaven. We're talking about general attitude when a person wakes up in the morning. So instead of being a slouch, get up in the morning with excitement. That is a little less than Ben Azai. And then we have less than that, which is halacha and Shulchan Aruch. The halacha and Shulchan Aruch is not talking about any excitement. Ben Azai is talking about super excitement. You think the guy's on narcotics. The guy is running is Ben Azai. Then you have Yehuda ben Tema, which is, it's in the morning, he gets up with excitement, to this is now a fresh day, and now he can serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Lasas Retzon Avicha Shemayim, to do the will of my Father in heaven. And then we're talking the lowest level, which is not Midas Chasidus, Adin Shulchan Aruch, which is every mitzvah you run. Why am I running? I could walk. I'm not in a hurry, and I'm not late. I didn't tell my wife I'm coming home until 10:30 tonight. So what's the hurry? Fake it until you make it. Because when you really love the mitzvah, you would run for the mitzvah. Because a person like Ben Azai sees every mitzvah like a pot of gold. He sees it, wow, this is tremendous. This is, I won a jackpot. This is a mitzvah. Like Levitz Beditcheva, he can't wake up in the morning. He couldn't sleep at night because he was so excited that in the morning he can already do the mitzvah of shaking the lulav and esrog. And then when it was the morning already, and he ran, and there was a glass, and he put his hand straight through the glass, and the glass shattered because he wanted to grab the esrog. He was so excited. That's Ben Azai. Yehuda ben Tema is a little less. And then the rest of us, that's Midas Chasidus. There is what the Gemara says. The Gemara is talking about a person who doesn't have that, doesn't feel that excitement. But you just fake it. You just run. You run for every single mitzvah. Where does it start? It starts when you in shul. Because where is it that we feel our connection with God? The focus is tefillah. When we pray, that's when we make our connection to Hashem. So therefore, it starts with running to the Beis HaKnesses. But really, it's for every single mitzvah. It's not only in the Beis HaKnesses.
Amen.
The Alter Rebbe brings Shulchan Aruch, he brings the pasuk. There's a nice Tzemach Tzedek. Tzemach Tzedek says, in actual Nargemara, there's different nusach and girsa. The pasuk has one more word. It says Neida nirdafa ladas, which really would mean, it seems to be repetitive. Neida nirdafa, we will run to know. Ladas, to know. We will know, to run, to know. To know. So Tzemach Tzedek says that we know in Chassidus that there's two types of knowledge of God: das Elyon and das Tachten. There is das Tachten, our perspective, which is this world is real. Yesh me'ayin, something from nothing. Beyond this world is nothing. It's not tangible. This world is something, but there is something beyond this world. But what's real to us is this world. Then there is the perspective of das Elyon, which is the other way around. Materialistic is nothing. Lamaila yesh lamata ayin. So there's two levels of das. That's what the pasuk is talking about. Neida nirdefa ladas es Hashem. Neida is the lower level of das, and ladas is the higher level of das. So the Rebbe says a beautiful diuk here. Nirdefa ladas. If you're going to run, if you fake it until you make it. If you run, you get to das. I don't have any das. Usually it works the other way around. There is neida nirdefa. If you love God and you do the mitzvah with such excitement because you love Him, so you run. But then there's the other way. There's neida nirdefa. Because I know Him and I love Him. Come to the airport. Your wife was away for something. And you come to meet your wife at the airport. You're excited to see her. Your child that went away for a year went away to Eretz Yisrael. You come to the airport to greet them. You run. It's exciting, right? So that's neida nirdefa. Das meloshen v'odem yoda es chava. Das means a deep connection. Neida nirdefa, because I know and I have such a deep love and connection, I run. That's one way. The other one is nirdefa ladas. I don't know and I don't have excitement, but I run. Because I run, I get to have that das. Do you remember Mr. Benjamin? Mr. Benjamin, we had a project recently. Tony Benjamin. He went down. They did us the Shas was completed by Rabbi Adin Evan Yisrael, Rabbi Steinsaltz. So they did. For some reason, they decided to make a big. They made a film, and his thing is film. So they made it a big part of the celebration, several places in the world. But one of the main places was, and there was broadcasting it, was in Jorba, in Tunisia. So Jorba. So he came back he was in awe. At first he had met the shliach in Tunisia, but the whole story. There's a history. The Jews in Jorba believe that the Kohanim in the after the destruction of the first Beis Hamikdash, they moved to Africa, to Tunisia, and they established there and then there's a famous shul there there was unfortunately a terrorist attack there a couple of years ago, and the Jews are still living there. That's the bottom line. So the story about the Jews in Jorba was that there was once an epidemic in Jorba, and this is a story that's told by old Tunisian Jews. And there was Rabbi Rachamim, who was the maggot. He was the preacher of the town. People were terrified of leaving their homes. They didn't want to contract the disease. So people stayed home. Usually he would give his sermons, he would go from shul to shul, give his sermons. It would be Shabbos after Mincha. There was a few special Shabbos, and it's Shabbos HaGodol, Shabbos Shuva. There was also Shabbos Garibas Jarba, which was the Shabbos before Lag BaOmer. Shabbos before Lag BaOmer was a big Shabbos. It's for the Jews. Reb Shimon Bar Yochai was very, very important. And he would talk about the importance of Reb Shimon Bar Yochai. So it was the Shabbos. It was soon the Shabbos before Lag BaOmer, and he's not risking his life to go out of the house. He's sitting in his house and learning. this Rebbe Rachamim, and he picks up his eyes. He sees two elderly gentlemen are standing in front of him. Why are you not giving your sermons? He said, you never heard? Rebbe Rachamim says, there's an epidemic. It's dangerous. So the two gentlemen said, don't you know the Talmud says the story of Reb Chanina ben Doisa, that there was the snake that was killing people, and Reb Chanina ben Doisa put his foot there, and then the snake went out to bite him, and the snake died. And Reb Chanina ben Doisa brought the snake over his shoulders and brought him to the base of Medrash. And what did Reb Chanina ben Doisa say? Loi ha-nochash meimis elo ha-chet meimis. The snake doesn't kill, the sin kills. The snake only does his job. So, don't you know that? Well, said Rebbe Rachamim, you know, our sages say when there is a danger, then you shouldn't stick your neck out. They said, well, you're not in danger. We're going to show you the book of the people that are going to die. And we'll show you all the names. You'll see your name is not there. So Rabbi Rachim said, yes, I could really look at the book. They said, yeah, here. And so the Jews in Jorba say that Rabbi Rachim asked him for the book, and he opened the book. He sees names, Arab. He sees a Jewish name. He says, this man, he's the kindest man in town. He will die? He can't die. Who is going to do all the kindness that he does? They said, you know what, you're right. Okay? Erase the name. He sees it's good. He keeps on reading the names. He's reading. Another Jewish name. He says, this fellow is a father of 10 children. He's sending them all to learn Torah. Are you going to kill this guy? Okay, they said. Erase. He went through every single name that was Jewish, and he found big or small limud sichos. He found a way to get everyone off the hook. Finished the book, and they blessed him, and they disappeared. So the Berachimim ran out, and he was running every Jewish home and knocking on the doors. He said, fellows, we all have to go we all have to go now. There's a big drosha. So the drosha was about Lag Boimer, but he didn't tell anyone about the book. Years later, and what happened was that all the Jews actually, from that point on, all the Jews lived. Years later, the Bachram said the story, but he never wanted to say the names, which names he saw in the book. It wasn't relevant. So comes Lag Boimer. Shimon Bar Yochai. One of the big things of Shimon Bar Yochai was to show us how to have achayas in mitzvahs, that it should be full of simcha, full of zest. So there's two ways of doing it. There is neida nirdefa, because we know God, and it's such an intimate understanding of God, and such a close, and it's so delicious. Therefore we run to it because it's exciting. But then there is people that we don't have that yet. So there's an Etzel. Fake it until you make it. That's the other way of reading the pasuk. Near the ladas. First you run, and then you get to das. So the Eibusha should help that this Lag Ba'omer, that we should be neidav and near the ladas as Hashem, and this neidav and near the this running and this jumping should be not here in Flatbush, but it should be in Miron, in Eretz HaKodesh. We should go first class to Manan Ishmaya.